Throughout this presentation, we will introduce you to Mr. Philippe Starck, identifying his achievements, influences, and personality. Born in Paris in the year of 1949 to Angeline and André Starck, Philippe Starck quickly found love in his father's workshop. While Starck Sr. was designing aircraft, young Philippe was pulling apart, rearranging, and reconnecting mechanical pieces into new and interesting objects. In his teenage years, Starck may have found it hard to concentrate on tasks in front of him, as his brain was wired to constantly evolve and manufacture new and exciting solutions to problems. It is believed he also had trouble with the social aspects and conformity of rules and interactions with others. This may have been his saving grace, as he went on to become one of the world's most renowned unique interpreters of design. During his young adult years at the École Nationale des Commandos, Paris, his listlessness created unique inflatable designs, emulating his interest in materiality. His undeniably unique talents led him to be approached by Pierre Cardin, an iconic French fashion designer, who was impressed by his iconoclastic designs. In the 1970s, a young Starck, only in his 20s, was a relatively unknown designer. That was until he designed two era-defining nightclubs in the second half of the decade. Les Mâts Bleus and Les Bains Douches both became iconic Parisian discotheques, appealing to people on the fringe of mainstream society. It wasn't long before the nightclubs gained popularity and notoriety amongst celebrities. Starck states, improving the quality while striving to make it accessible to the greatest number of people, at affordable prices. Les Mâts Bleus, designed by Starck at the age of 27, was a nightclub created to be inclusive to all ethnicities within a racially discriminative time. Shortly after opening, it became a safe haven for people of colour, who were not often made to feel welcome in the average Parisian nightclub. Designed with the concept of resembling a black hole, the interior had matte black finishes and exposed ventilation. 2 years later, Starck designed the nightclub Les Bains Douches, which was seen as the Parisian version of Studio 54 in New York. The decade was considered the golden age of Paris nightlife. The nightclub, which opened in 1978 on the site of the old bathhouse, became extremely popular amongst models, musicians, celebrities, and fashion designers. The interior consisted of the original tiles and baths, were operational located next to the dance floor. Sadly, Les Bains Douches closed its doors in 2010. Throughout the 80s, Starck became a household name within the design industry, receiving an abundance of awards throughout the decade, perhaps the most notable being the Platinum Circle Award received in Chicago in 1978. In 1982 brought with it Starck's big break when French President François Mitterrand commissioned Starck to design Élysée Palace, a private residence that belonged to the president. This work brought Starck's design skills into the public eye on a global scale. The positive response from both the president and the public resulted in Starck experiencing an increase in commissions and overall popularity, accelerating his career to a whole new level. A globally recognized design by Starck is the Asahi Superdry Hall in Tokyo, Japan. Built in 1989, it is a striking design that can be viewed from a great distance, and is an example of one of Starck's more controversial designs. Controversial because many feel the building is overpowering on the city's landscape. However, it is possible that impact might just be what Starck was hoping to achieve for this particular client. Starck, based in his hometown of Paris, was exposed to the pop culture era that waved over Europe in the 1980s. In the art world, Neo-Expressionism was born, allegedly originating in Germany before expanding globally. A controversial art movement, inspired by pop culture, it was adopted heavily among the young rising artists of the time. The artwork was a massive shift for that of photorealism, popular throughout the 1970s. Neo-Expressionism embraces the unique, colourful, pop-rock music scene of the 1980s, combined with inspiration from abstract art and graffiti. The entire movement celebrates being unique pushing the boundaries of what is normal. It is not surprising, therefore, that this art movement has remained a topic of controversy throughout history. This presentation highlights some key designs by Philippe Starck that demonstrate comparable elements to that of neo-expressionist art pieces popular throughout the 1980s France. These elements include colour, detail, and materiality, as well as the presence of human and animal occupation. It is no secret that Philippe Starck is a unique character, whose practices are typically unrealistic to the average individual's lifestyle. During an interview with Harvard Business Review, Starck said, "For 4 months per year I lived completely secluded, locked in one of my houses, working from 8 in the morning to 8 at night, or making my own biorhythm. Work 3 hours, sleep 45 minutes, work 3 hours, sleep 45 minutes, for 24 hours without eating." It is this individuality that allows us to comfortably compare Starck's personality and subsequently his work to that of neo-expressionism. By the time the 1990s rolled around, Starck had become a household name. The influence Starck's father had over him had also become evident when it came to designing new and inventive objects. In 1990, Starck designed his iconic Juicy Sail Lift, named most controversial Lemon Squeezer. The design allegedly inspired by a combination of his love for the band Pink Floyd and comic books. Starck's imagination may as well be considered childlike. Throughout the 90s, Starck began using chrome and other metals in his designs, giving them a futuristic appearance. This can be seen in both the Juicy Sail Lift and the Industrial Trolley, created by Starck. At the turn of the century, there was an evident increase in the amount of projects that Starck produced. This could be attributed to his rising acclaim over his career, although without doubt it was also the result of the acceleration of technology in the 21st century. In addition to increasing efficiencies in the design process and production, technology made it easier for designers to collaborate and communicate with clients across the globe. However, in a world that was connected like never before, it was clear that technology had become a driving force for consumerism and inequality within society. As someone who said that ethics was the first thing he looked for in a client, it was apparent that this theme played heavily for many of Starck's iconic designs during this time. From chairs that focused on dematerialization and invisibility, luxury hotels priced to be accessible to all, and habitat modules that will venture into space, Starck's vision only to create for the good of society, whether we know what is good for ourselves or not, is consistently clear throughout his work. At the end of the 20th and beginning of the 21st century, consumers, governments, investors, and stakeholders were demanding organizations to conduct business in an environmentally responsible way. According to CINAR 2005, all products damage the environment to some extent. Therefore, the choice of material in design is a critical factor in being environmentally friendly. Dematerialization is about using less material and less energy in the manufacture of materials, therefore limiting the environmental impacts. Dematerialization became a part of Starck's brand in the 90s, and in 1998 Starck created the La Marie chair, which is molded from a single piece of crystal clear polycarbonate. The beauty of the 18th century shape juxtaposed with the modern manufacturing techniques and a modern material made this piece both beautiful and revolutionary. The combination of traditional design with transparency made this versatile chair thus extremely popular with designers. This chair was created to be less design, less weight, less material, and with the least possible presence. It was considered pure mathematics. However, it was the Louis Ghost chair that Starck was convinced was the convergence of past, present, and future. This chair embodied the meeting of dematerialization and democratization, making it accessible to everyone. Starck designed and created the Louis chair in 2002 using injection-molded polycarbonate to create this transparent chair, a chair void of all joinery. Each chair was made entirely of recycled material, making it an environmentally choice for consumers. Interestingly, Starck compared himself to the Invisible Man from the science fiction film, feeling like he was unseen for many years. The Invisible Man could only be seen when wrapped in cloth. This motivated Starck to invent himself using his own strip of fabric. In the 1990s, Starck committed to creating luxury hotels that were accessible to all. This came to fruition in New York in the form of rooms for $100 at the newly designed Paramount Hotel. However, it was his creation of the Mama Shelter in 2008 that would go on to be one of his most successful projects. A hotel and restaurant located in urban Paris, Starck's design was fresh and lively with a sense of whimsy. Starck speaks to the concept as, "We wanted to bring a democratic dream to fruition, give the best to the most people possible, while drawing from the newest ideas and energy of the young." Shortly after its initial success in Paris, Philippe went on to design Mama Shelters in Marseille, Lyon, and Bordeaux. Today, the Mama Shelter has a total of 1,935 rooms in 14 hotels across 7 countries. In recent years, Starck has commenced working on his most futuristic project to date. As a person who has always found aeronautics and space fascinating, Starck was deeply honoured when he was approached by Axiom, a private space exploration company, to work on the world's first commercial international space station. Tasked with designing the living and dining quarters for the crew, known as Axiom Hub 1 and Axiom Hub 2, Starck drew inspiration from the similarities of feeling weightlessness in outer space to our experience in the womb, and endeavoured to create a nurturing nest-like environment with unparalleled views of the Earth. Throughout the soft-textured interior walls of the module are hundreds of nano LED lights that change colour depending on the station's position to the Earth, time, and also the mood of its inhabitants. Still in the making, the space station is set to be complete in 2024 and will consist of crew quarters, research and manufacturing capabilities, as well as a power module for essential environment, life support and storage facilities. For anyone with a spare $55 million, this will buy you a ticket on a 10-day outer space voyage to the International Space Station, a price that, we hope, will reduce with time. Throughout our explorations, it is clear that Philippe Starck could be described as a genius in the design world. His notable awards, impressive portfolio, quirky personality, unusual lifestyle, and dedication to his practice have all played a role in allowing Starck to stand out within an extremely competitive industry. His creativity engaged from a young age, influenced by his father, Starck's work has continued to evolve and remain relevant throughout an impressive 50-year career. Drawing inspiration from the Parisian music scene of the 1970s to embracing the arrival of pop culture and neo-expressionism in the 1980s, Starck designed, challenged the norm, and embraced the new. The turn of the millennium brought new material and space-inspired media along with it, appealing to Starck's futuristic view and playful imagination. Although Starck's practices may not be for everyone, and his designs have sparked a great deal of controversy on a number of occasions, it could be said that Starck revolutionized the furniture of today, whilst continuing on a mission for a world of equality for all. His unique approach to using design and architecture to include positive emotions in users by creating happy and healthy spaces is a powerfully timeless philosophy that arguably attributes to his success.